Weapons are so boring in D&D 5th edition, which is surprising to me because the game of Dungeons & Dragons is so focused on combat. I've been going through the player's handbook, and on page 149, there's the one page dedicated towards all the weapons in the 5th edition, and that's really it, and there's not much variety elsewhere. I was thinking that maybe as the edition went on, they would add more variety, or maybe the design philosophy was keep it simple up front, and then in our classes and subclasses, we can make the weapon system more varied. They did that with the Battle Master, and I think that's why that subclass is so celebrated, because it gives a martial fighter more options and variety to interact with enemies in combat. But by and large, and now that we're at the end of the 5th edition, I really think that they've failed. Wizards of the Coast has failed to present something interesting with weapons. So that's what I'm hoping to do with this video. I'd like to present a really simple and elegant option that's been play tested by my players throughout the years, and they really seem to love it. It becomes hard to defend a game where mechanically there are no differences between so many weapons. The glaive and halberd, warpick and morningstar, battle axe and longsword, and spear and trident are identical weapons, and weapons like the flail being a worse version of the warhammer, or the same with the mace and the quarterstaff, well, that's just inexcusable. There are 37 weapons in the game, and I've already listed 8 that have identical counterparts, and 2, trust me, there are more, that are useless in comparison to others. I know I'm looking at this from a mechanical perspective. Someone could definitely choose to use a mace rather than a quarterstaff because it has narrative meaning to their character. It just feels wrong to punish someone for making a different choice and leave the game with so few options. So, I'm going to give you the ability to create interesting weapons. Enter the Weapon Mastery System. There are 3 things we will need for our new system. 1. A Weapon DC. Weapon DC equals 8 plus proficiency plus your strength modifier, or dexterity if your weapon has finesse. A few new weapon properties, and a way to master weapons. This is a system I have playtested, and my players love it. Arguably the most popular weapon in D&D, the longsword should remain classic and simple. You are a 3rd level fighter with an 18 strength. Your weapon DC for the longsword is 14. It retains the 1d8 slashing and versatile d10 features, but we're adding a new property called Disarm. On hit, you can choose to deal only your strength modifier and damage, and force your enemy to roll a strength or dexterity saving throw. On a failure, it drops 1 held item of your choice, landing within 5 feet of it. If the enemy is larger than you or using a 2-handed weapon, it gains advantage on the save. If it's smaller than you, it suffers disadvantage. This provides options, but this is just martial proficiency. How do I master the longsword? And here is where the roleplay intersects with the mechanics. Here is the Weapon Mastery System. Your goal is to get 7 points, and there are many ways to do that. Once you have 7, you've mastered that weapon. This should be an important journey. Let's talk about each of the options. As you can see, there are more than 7 options for a player to choose from when it comes to mastering a weapon. You can roll a 1 on an attack and describe it. You can spend 50 hours training, watch other people wield the weapon that you're trying to master, receive a magic version of your weapon, land a critical hit. All of these things count towards your 7-point goal. And once you've hit those 7 points, you've mastered the weapon. Once you master the longsword, you unlock the master level properties. Melee D10, Disarm, Finesse, and Versatile D12. Along with mastering it, you gain a Master perk. Your critical hit range is 18 to 20 with the longsword. Each weapon has a specific Master perk, and that's where a lot of the variety comes in. There is a reason to choose each weapon, and every character gets to feel like they're unique. We can do this with more weapons. I haven't seen anyone choose the Great Club, since it's 2-handed and only 1d8 damage. Let's give the Great Club Disarm as well, and then when you master it, it becomes 2-handed, melee d10, disarm, and deflect. Deflect means if you're struck by a melee weapon attack, you can use your reaction to roll your weapon's damage plus your strength modifier, then subtract that total from the damage dealt to you for one attack. If you're dual-wielding deflect weapons and you deflect one attack, you can deflect another attack as a free action on the same turn. The Master perk for the Great Club? If you're successful in a disarm attempt, the enemy can no longer add proficiency to attacks and damage with that weapon for the rest of combat. You're slamming this massive, heavy weapon into the weapon of an enemy, so it damages it and no longer lets them add their proficiency bonus. One more weapon we can look at is the hand axe. I really like the hand axe, but we can certainly add more to it. Let's add the trip property to the martial proficiency. If your attack is successful, you can choose to deal only your strength modifier and damage, and your enemy must succeed on a strength or dexterity saving throw or be knocked prone. Enemies one size category larger than you gain advantage. Enemies two size categories larger than you are immune to being tripped in this way. And masters gain disarm and gain advantage on attacks when you're attempting to disarm. Even weapons like the hand axe that I really like the design of can fit into this system. One of my favorite things to do with this system is to explore how you can make thematic weapons that speak to a character's personality and style. I changed greatswords to deal 2d8 damage at master level and 2d10 to large and larger enemies as you become a slayer of giant beasts with your massive weapon. I think that's the power fantasy that people are looking for when they use a greatsword, so I thought that would be a perfect master perk. We talked about how the longsword and battle axe are nearly identical weapons, but with this system we can differentiate them. We can give trip to the battle axe at martial level, up the damage to a d10 and d12 at the master level, and the master perk can allow the user to re-roll damage if the dice is 1 or 2. This makes the longsword and battle axe feel a lot different, and gives reason for some players to choose one over the other. If you check the website in the description, there's a printable version of the weapon mastery system, along with a drop-down menu that lets you choose the weapons in the game, and some that I've added with various weapon properties. This is a refinement of many of the community's contributions over the years. Commander Fane is someone in the community, for example, that has a fantastic weapon repertoire in their commander's revised martial equipment, and has provided a lot of the inspiration for this video. I've also linked their homebrew in the description. Thanks for watching.